we're gonna do a little celebratory shot here. But
Okay.
welcome to another episode. Oh wait. Welcome to another episode of Go. No, that's Irish. Of With Your Palate. No, that's Irish.
He's trying to do a Boston accent.
Rhonda Kallman. No.
Yeah?
Kallman.
Kallman.
Boston. Boston. Kallman. But I'm using
Kallman.
my Boston accent is garbage. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Let me do a California one.
Yeah, wait, you can do a California.
Flowers and butterflies.
Is it Cal?
Flowers and butterflies. That's
how they say it.
California.
Okay.
We gotta go.
I'm gonna take it from the top again.
Okay, yeah, please.
I can't obviously do a Boston accent.
Everyone's gonna see this thing.
Okay.
Wet your palate.
Welcome to another short segment of Wet Your Palate. You got me, Joe Wagner, and my co-host, Fat Mario Rubio. And we got a special guest today, Rhonda Kallman.
Yeah.
Okay, without the Boston accent. She is from Boston. She can do a Boston accent, and it's wicked. But wicked good. She's from Boston Harbor Distillery, and she's got a great life story about everywhere she's gone and what she's done. And she brought some great spirits. Let's cheers to that.
I love the pre-segment, which was at your winery. I loved everything about that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And all of your brands, being Bell Gloss, like the first time I ever had it was in Las Vegas with one of my investors of my old beer company. And he bought this bottle of Bell Gloss. He was so excited about it. And I drank it and I thought, this was the best thing that I've ever drank. And I loved it ever since. And what you've done with that brand is remarkable.
Thank you very much. Well,
Wait, I can go on and on because we went through the whole thing, and the wax and all of the stuff that you guys do there is the real deal. And you've inspired me today.
Thank you.
No, honestly, like what you do there is amazing. It's a big undertaking, and you do it with aplomb. So congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. I cannot wait to get out there and see your operation where we got to taste quite a few of the things. I mean, this Demon Seed is something that is maybe one of the most fun spirits I've tried. And so if you guys want to hear about how it's made, and if you've never heard of it and you want to try it, get out there and buy some. It's spicy, yet savory, and very sultry and sexy right on the finish.
Oh, see?
Yay!
Yeah.
I mean, you guys stay tuned. Obviously, there was a lot of shots taken. You could tell by Joe's.
What are you talking
Hey,
Hey,
about?
we still have 5 empty glasses here.
It's gonna get wet right
Time
now.
to get to work.
Get the guys up. Come on, dog. Get in here, dog.
Let's do this, boys.
But please
We're out.
You guys stay tuned. Rhonda's origin story is amazing. It's gonna be awesome.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. This is the highlight of my career. Thank
No.
you.
Thank you.
Rhonda Kallman.
What would you put on a whiskey nutritional label if you could, besides ingredients? But
I would definitely put the ingredients, and I would put the calories, which are about 135 calories, which is absolutely nothing for the satisfaction and the flavor complexity that you're getting. I mean, look, we're drinking this much alcohol.
it tastes like it could be dessert, right? For 130 calories.
Okay. What's happening right now? I hope you're watching. Watch the videos of this and the looks I got. I'm saying yes. I don't know what I'm getting into.
That's funny. It's okay. Gee, this horse, I just noticed the horseshoe right there.
Oh yeah.
Did you do that on purpose for me? Look,
I mean,
it's down.
I think it's kind of serendipity playing right now. The reason why because we're gonna move on to that too, and that's gonna.
That horseshoe is actually from my my grandmother, Lorna Bell Gloss. It was her family that immigrated here from Alsace, and so they had a house on Gloss Lane, which is down like in between Rutherford and Oakville, and that came off of one of the trees. They planted a bunch of redwood trees down by the river. And so that came off of the tree, one of the trees. It's no longer in our family, but that was down there still on one of the trees.
Oh,
That is so cool.
So that's where it came from.
So,
Slight theft, but not really. It was once our family's.
someone's going to be knocking on your door.
I know.
Yeah,
and I'll find another horseshoe that looks just like that.
We're not editing it out though, okay? Because it's a nice story.
No, but before we jump into this, because I do want to ask... about that nutritional label. I think it's coming down the pipeline, right? But like,
is it? I don't know.
Is there some way to measure? So if you're talking hearts, right, really being true to what you want to achieve and put in bottle, and you're really focusing on just the cream of the crop, the true hearts of your distillate. Is there would there be an easy way for everybody in the spirits world to measure, ethanol versus methanol or whatever it might be that would give some kind of quantifier, or do you think that's going too far?
I do.
Yeah.
That's just too much information. Sometimes, but first of all, it's smell. It's all about smell.
I agree.
You taste with your nose.
Yep.
And if it smells off or bad or not attractive to you, don't drink it. But we'll go into the tail. Like the tail is the longest part of the chain, but we'll go in because there's some body and character and, there's some oils in there that we want.
Oils, yeah.
But if you go too far in, and I think that's what Scotch does, they don't like to throw anything away. And so they'll go long into the tails, but they need time to age that out. If you cut your hearts narrow, you go into the tail, 10 or 15%, you're going to be fine. You will.
Yeah.
You will. And then you put those tails back in when you're distilling again, and you further cut your hearts narrow. And, we're so small that we're really handcrafted. That's not even a buzzword. That's an actual thing. We hand bottle everything. We don't have robots yet.
Oh man, we get
I want some. Can I borrow Emmett or whatever the name is?
Robots. I was gonna say
they're pretty cool, but I mean they're not going to be able to make quality. I feel like we have some job security here because robots aren't going to be able to do the sensory analysis and really.
Maybe they are, but
I don't know. I just couldn't imagine it. Maybe they will.
I don't know. They get connected with some of that tastery technology. You get some AI in there, they have a machine that can taste. As far as that, you get some of that technology combining it. I don't know.
It's all subjective, and let's keep it that way.
Wait, is this a shot? So we're pouring something.
Will you do a shot with me?
I'll do a shot with you. Yeah. So I just poured us pretty hefty shots.
You did.
So okay,
you're gonna hurt yourself.
Can we?
And I'm here to watch.
I know. She's fine. She's gonna be fine.
So this is Demon Seed.
Yeah, Demon Seed. Can you start with the name on this? Because this sounds this sounds mean and dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. and that's what you're taking a shot.
That's Boston style. Well, this is John Couchot. I was telling you about my favorite master distiller. He's the one that came up with this. And we still had sawdust on the floor. We hadn't opened the distillery yet. We're still working on it. And he shows up with this mason jar of liquid and says, "Hey, you like heat?" I said, "Not really in my drinks." This was 2015. He said, "Try it anyway." So I try it, and it was so hot. I'm like, what is this stuff? He said, "I call it Demon Seed." And I said, "John, I don't think there's a place for Demon Seed in my luxury whiskey company."
Yeah.
And that was it. Never talked about it again. Until one day, a customer, we opened up 2015, and several years later, somebody walked in and asked me why that horseshoe was down. So we have those, just like you have right there, real horseshoes hanging over the doors because of the Putnam Nail Factory. That was their logo, and the horseshoe nail was down. So he asked me, why is the horseshoe down? And a lot of Irish people in Boston, and there's different folklores and stuff. And I said, I really don't know. So a few weeks later, I looked it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
By the way, the horseshoe up catches the luck. The horseshoe down holds the luck in. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Learn something new on this podcast, right?
But that's the folklore of the horseshoe.
That's the folklore of the horseshoe. And at the bottom of the Wikipedia page was this whole story about St. Dunstan and the devil.
Okay.
And St. Dunstan was a blacksmith. Of course, I'm in a horseshoe nail factory.
Uh-huh.
And the devil walked into a shop. This is a folklore from the ages, from the UK, like hundreds of years ago. Devil walked into a shop and said to St. Dunstan, I want to get his horse horseshoed. St. Dunstan recognized him as the devil, and he horseshoed him instead. So the devil obviously got very upset about it. And St. Dunstan said, I'll promise to take the horseshoe off your hoof if you promise never to walk over the threshold of a door that has a horseshoe over it. And that is the story of, and I thought to myself, by God, that's John's demon seed. So I had this done, this logo done. It was in the style of the folklore. But then in my freezer, so my building was the 1850s. It was a Putnam Nail factory, and then it was a Lawley shipyard. I think we have some of my gin. Lawley's is my nautical line of vodka, gin, and rums. They built minesweepers for World War II. We're going to try that too. But in the freezer was an ice cream factory. But that was defunct in the early 2000s. And that's where, you guys in California know about Whitey Buldger, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, evidently he used to disappear people in the building.
Dude. Oh, really?
Yeah, in the freezer because you couldn't hear the screams. It's all insulated.
Smart guy.
So this is the original. This goes back to the original Boston Demons. So are you ready? So if you want,
you got a lot going on with this. So okay,
if those walls could talk.
Now there's the original like dare shot idea, right?
Yeah, this is it.
So this sounds like it's more than just like your Jaeger or your whatever Fireball. That's not even a dare shot.
It's for pussies.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And this is
my kids were drinking it at like 12. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, this is though in that vein. This is all natural, and everything is on the label. It's distilled spirit specialty. It's 66.6 proof. It's rye distillate with whole scorpion peppers, which is the hottest non-GMO pepper there is, with real ginger. Fresh ginger and real maple syrup from a small family farm in Cabot, Vermont, Ackerman Farm. They are wonderful people. Let's have a toast to them. Cheers. Now, we can shoot this, but I get these little nips of the maple cream that we make because we'll drink this, but then we can try it together. We call it a cream and demon.
Okay. All right. All right. So we're going a full one down the hatch. Today. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Roller coaster of flavor. So there's the spiciness from the rye, the sweet heat from the ginger. The scorpion pepper is this intense, fiery heat, but it's real. So it's like flowery and vegetative. It's beautiful.
Is there no sugar in there?
Nothing. It's maple syrup.
Okay, so just a little maple syrup because it's got like a nice
no sugar.
Like you're saying, it is a roller coaster. It's got the heat, the ginger spice,
and the maple
and a little bit of that maple. Yeah,
coat your mouth. It's yummy. So this is, it is a dare shot, but it's also a cocktail variant.
Well, I was going to say this could be great in cocktails. Yeah,
I think so too. I was drinking it neat last night while I was getting ready to go meet Doug for dinner. Thanks, Doug, by the way. We ready for the cream and demon?
Yeah.
Yeah. You need a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's calling you out. I like you so much. Can you just come on more often?
Hey, Kieran, I'm supposed to meet with you this afternoon.
Whoever you are, forget it. See him tomorrow.
All
right, you ready?
This ought to be fun.
I know now, really.
Okay, so the cream and demon. So this is your cream liqueur.
It's Boston Harbor maple cream. It used to be called Seymour's, by the way. There's some winery here in Northern California.
I've never heard of it.
Have you ever heard of Seymour's?
No, I haven't, but I'm thinking that was there a name?
There was a name, Seymour's, and they...
Trademark.
They made less than 100 cases of wine a year, and they wanted me to send them a check every quarter for the name frickin' Seymour's.
Yeah, the trademark game is ruthless. I can't stand it, and...
I've dealt with it, I'm still dealing with it.
I know, well, in our world, it's... And I don't know if a lot of people know this. Trademarks, so we're kind of lumped in... so beer, wine, and spirits are they're all lumped into a category, right? A class.
Sure.
And so you think about the amount of breweries, like even your, mom and pop shop that's a craft brewery, just, your brew pub. And they may be trademarking a number of their names, whatever else. Then all the wine brands and, 14,000 SKUs on the market, all the whiskeys and vodkas and everything. You're looking at tens of thousands of names that have been taken. And to be able to find something that's meaningful and be able to trademark it can be so hard in the beverage alcohol business.
Well, I've got a story. So when I left Boston Beer, I spent 15 years helping make Sam Adams a household name across the country, knocking down doors for craft, educating people on ingredients. You know how many staff tastings I've done? I love them. Just educating people. These guys have been... Their grandfather started distributors in 1933.
Yeah.
They have no idea what goes into whatever they're selling.
Yeah.
We taught them. And I love that. I love doing that. When I left Boston Beer, I started another beer company called New Century Brewing Company.
Okay.
It was the first brewing company of the new millennium. And Dr. Joseph Awades, who was, there it is, Moonshot, and Edison. Edison was a light beer made from scratch to be light. There was no watered down version of anything else. And I launched it at the National Beer Wholesalers Association in 2001. It was the eve of 9/11.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I was launching in New York and Boston, so I took any money that I made from Boston Beer, and I built my company with it, and, that's where all that money went. Long story short, I got sued by Cooper Industries, a $4.2 billion company here in California that owned the name Edison, but Edison had been used everywhere. Edison Parking, Edison Schools, Edison Electric, Edison. And they read an article about my beer in Maxim magazine and decided to clean up their mark with me on my brand.
Oh, no.
So I got sued, got served. After 9/11, came out of that, which was hard enough. Barely came out of that, got served with a lawsuit for Edison, and it took 3.5 years and $150,000 plus.
Oh, God.
And I couldn't grow the brand, so I ended up creating Moonshot, which this was Edison, brewed to be light. So there was no watered down version of anything else.
Okay,
it was made from scratch to be light by the man who invented light beer in the '60s. It was a great story, and it's a great beer. And when that whole Bud Light debacle happened a couple of years ago, I'm like, Edison would have just been perfect.
It would have, yeah.
And I remember we
I like that package too.
I was bartending. Oh, that was some years ago. But I remember when Edison came on the scene because I was bartending at Hillstones.
That's in Rutherford.
No, and Century City at the time.
Okay,
but I was at that Hillstone. Yeah. So as
they
you know,
awesome.
Hillstone restaurant. Yeah, they have the Rutherford Grill out here, but. And they had Edison Light, and we were all about it because we were just at that time too. You were like, okay. If you're drinking Bud Light or that, like all the light beers were just always known as water, right?
Yeah.
It was just like
watered down. That's
water.
What, it was a watered down version.
That was a big thing. Oh, there's so much flavor, and it's a light beer. It was like everyone was so excited about that.
I remember it too. I didn't know that was the demise of the brand. So you replaced Edison with Moonshot.
No, I kept Edison going with thank you Trader Joe's and thank you Hillstone because both of their their mantra is to give people a high quality alternative to the mainstream. And that is exactly my positioning, everything that I do.
Yeah.
So Trader Joe's got it and Hillstone got it. Though I was dancing at a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert one night.
That sounds fun. Honestly,
you know it's gonna get good. I know. There's no story that starts like that.
There's just so many of them, and I brought the guys from Boston who had a Hillstone was Houston's, and then they had to change the name because of the menu thing. Yeah, so they changed it to Hillstone, but it's at Faneuil Hall. It's it's a great spot. It's actually, ironically now, Sam Adams Brew House of all things. But then they were killing it. But Hillstone's very conservative, and it was like a 70-30, 70% alcohol in Boston and 30% food. That didn't meet their
No, that didn't quite meet their criteria
right.
to have a liquor license?
The Bostonians.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. No, they were like, Hillstone's like, we're out.
Yeah.
So they got out. Anyway, so I brought the general manager and the beverage director from that location. We went to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. We tailgate and we had a ball. And the energy was just palpable. And I thought, if I could just bottle this feeling. And then I came up with the idea of putting caffeine into beer.
Yeah.
This is like before Four Loko.
No, wait.
Exactly. The plot thickens. So,
yeah.
So my brewmaster, Dr. Joseph Awades, He was 80 years old at the time. He had made Edison with me. He's the one who inspired me. He was Jim's brewmaster. He lived in Sonoma, of all places. And I called up Joe and I said, Joe, can you make me a beer with caffeine? And he hung up on me. So I called him back and I said, Joe, here's why. I said, if you look at what people are drinking, it was clearly caffeinated. It was Starbucks. It was Red Bull. This was the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even Mountain Dew was on fire, the Code Red, whatever. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
And he called me back 2 days later and he said, we can do it. So we ended up getting a patent in 4 countries in the process of adding caffeine to beer and ale. And I launched Moonshot. And that was a great name, right? Moonshot's a big deal.
It's a great name.
Now.
That's a great package. I don't know if you're only listening to this. It says all systems go. It is kind of hearkening back to obviously 69, which is
the year the astronauts landed on the moon, and the amount of caffeine that's in the beer.
Okay,
right. 80 is like a Folgers, like coffee. It's like 80 milligrams of caffeine. This was 69.
Okay.
So I wanted to. The government wouldn't let me put 1969 on there, and they wouldn't let me say how many milligrams of caffeine because we're not allowed to tell people what's in what they're drinking.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I've had the whole thing. But the TTB was great. They actually helped me with this, and they approved this mark on 4 different occasions.
Yeah.
And Joe died. Not this Joe, but
Yeah.
Joseph Awaites. And before he did, I said, Joe, he told me a brewing consultant to go to, and I did. And he ended up giving my patented formula of adding caffeine to beer and ale to Four Loko.
No.
And Panther juice. And it was a speedball in a can. And so it was 250 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, they jacked it up.
And
it was
white
malt-based.
college kids were, getting sick and ending up in the hospital or dying.
Yeah.
And so, of course, now there's an epidemic.
And now there's no caffeine in any alcoholic beverages.
And the TTB
right?
would not shut it down because they approved it. So they went, caffeine's, FDA rights herd over caffeine.
Oh.
So they shut it down. It's the only thing that's prohibition to be banned. I'm like, fuck.
And you were taking a more conservative approach of 69 milligrams of caffeine.
Less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Tasted like beer, looked like beer.
And what about
was beer?
4.5% alcohol?
Yeah, it was 5%.
5%, okay.
Yeah.
So just moderate and moderate
like
and
a
moderate.
Budweiser.
Yeah.
Only tastes better.
Yeah.
With a little caffeine, if you want a little pick-me-up. It was awesome.
God.
I mean, I have 3 children. I had
never
3
got to try
children,
that.
and at the time I had cancer. I had no hair, and I'm like, I ended up going right to the top of the FDA, right to the head of the Peggy Hamburg and Dr. Peggy, and I said, "Do you think that I'm going to make something that's bad for people? No, this makes me feel good. I'm sick. I feel good. I would never harm my children or anybody else." And they said, "We are really sorry, but you're caught in the net." I got caught. So instead of regulating what the FDA is supposed to do, they outright banned it.
They just, oh God. Oh, man.
So, well, I won't, I'll continue the discussion
But
offline.
Let's do the cream and demon.
All right. So here's
and congratulations for you being the one that created the idea of adding, in moderation.
In moderation.
Some
I
caffeine
love
to alcohol.
everything in moderation. Look at what they're doing today.
We got the cream and demon right here. I'm not talking about Rhonda. That is very good.
Mm-hmm.
He's
like, I'm still alive.
So we did the maple cream. I know I got to try the maple.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I got to try this on its own.
Oh, you need more than that. Just drink.
I am going to walk out of here wasted.
Oh yeah.
Well, I walked out of your winery wasted, but tit for tat.
You're trying to get me caught up here.
Can we just film you coming into your meeting with your CFO?
Yeah. That'd be great.
Bust down the door, you're like, demon seed.
Art and Chad, do me a favor. Don't call Kieran and tell him that we've been drinking.
Technically, I FaceTimed him, so...
Hey, I got a better idea. Actually, you'll be good if you go into the meeting with one of these bottles and you say, are we doing this? Or
he
what?
does love single malt.
He does.
He's an Irishman.
Yeah. He loves whiskey, so... I don't know. Just a thought.
Well, he likes pale malt. This is different, but he'll like it. I hope.
But he likes single malts. not necessarily Scotch or. I mean, he likes Irish whiskey too.
Well, Irish whiskey, it's just they distill it 3 times instead of 2 times. They're using pale malts instead of peat smoked malts. So it's it's good.
I'm going back to the Putnam, but I don't get. I love how it's not a heavy smoke. There's not actually much.
No, there's no
all.
smoke. It's actually it's a roasted malt instead of a peat smoked malt. I mean, peat is like marsh grass. I don't know what the equivalent would be out here.
Sod. No,
sod.
But I do want to get back to the Moonshot because that is such a great little part to the story. Like that.
It's the only thing since Prohibition to be banned, and so I didn't want to keep Edison going anymore. I just lost heart of the beer business that I had given literally like 40 years of my life, 30 years of my life to, and I was pissed, and I stopped. And that's when life hands you lemons. I made whiskey. I decided, took a page out of what Jim Koch saw with beer in Boston, and I did the same thing for whiskey.
So why was the patent given to or sold to that other company?
Well, it wasn't sold. It was just used because he was my brewing consultant.
Yeah.
Not Joe, the other guy. I'm not going to mention his name. And Four Loko was his client, and that's how they figured it out. And yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go after it. Like, I had just too much going on in my life at that point.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to spend my time trying to fight a patent without the inventor who died.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do it. And I left the beer business over it. And I couldn't even imagine leaving beer. Like, it was every day of my life for 25 years. That is all I thought about. No offense to my children. I do love you. And I did think about you occasionally.
Occasionally. Well, I will say that, it may not have been the exit that you wanted from it, but it was a really good time to make the exit, being that just beer has had a really tough time in the years since. We're talking 2012.
Yep, absolutely. Right? 2011 got shut down, and I started this. Yep, incorporated Boston Harbor Distillery in 2012. Found, it's different in liquor because of the taxes. The government is very interested in everything, as you know. Mm-hmm. And you have to own or lease a building before you can even apply for a DSP, a distilled spirits plant permit. And so I started investing in the business in 2012 and didn't open the doors until 2015. So, I started way behind.
Yeah, you were putting a lot of money into it before you even made a product that you needed to age. And then you obviously did some clear spirits, some cream-based liqueurs.
Yeah. Rum
to help kind of keep things moving along. Was that kind of because that is a classic kind of craft distillery story.
Well, I did offer whiskey early because of the last thing we haven't tasted.
Are we going to get into this right now?
We don't have to.
I'm down. Let's do it.
But the point is that in my distillery, when I first started, we couldn't even make a cocktail. It wasn't legal in Massachusetts to do so.
At a craft distillery.
At a craft distillery, it wasn't legal. So in order to get anybody in the door, I felt like I had to make more than whiskey. So that's why we did all this other stuff. And it's awesome. Like, it's all good. It's been a long road. It's been a longer road than I expected. And the pandemic was really, just a problem for a lot of people, including us. But we're coming out of it now. And, it's St. George's started here in Northern California 40 years ago.
That's crazy.
I know.
I mean, good for them, right? They sold Hangar One. They sold it, and they made money, and now they can...
Now they can just do continue their passion project, right?
That.
Yeah.
Well, you know what that's about. That's good.
Yeah.
That is good, but it's very few and far between that get those wins. That's
what I'm after. Just a win.
Just a win.
Just a win. Because I'm so close. I've been at the altar to win so many times. I'm going to make it happen. So this is really incredible. So what we're about to taste is called Spirit of Boston. And
I like how you have the still number 1776 on your labels.
Yeah, because that's...
You got to use what you have that tells the story, especially with something as serendipitous as that. That's awesome. Okay, so the spirit of Boston. Do you want to talk about this?
Sure. Well, why don't you read the label?
So, spirits distilled from grain, spices, and hops.
And look at the left side.
Oh yeah. So Samuel Adams, the Merrymaker, their beer, the Merrymaker. That is what this is distilled from. And so, are you actually getting that beer from?
Yes.
Sam Adams.
So we don't have to mash in. We don't have to ferment it. It comes already aged, already ready to be packaged. Freshest beer you could possibly buy. We bring it to the still, direct to the still, and we distill it twice. We make our cuts, hearts narrow, and we lay it down in used barrels.
So used American oak.
We don't want too much wood to overwhelm the nuances of the beer, and the ingredient story, which everything goes back to that, is 100% malt, and it's clove, nutmeg, ginger, and cinnamon. So it's their Merrymaker gingerbread stout. So this is what I have the most of. We have all kinds of different versions of it. You can see on the screen.
It says East Kent Goldings and Fuggles.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's hops. They're hops.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
They're actually from the UK.
You were like, are you fugly?
So cute. I know.
I mean,
these freaking UK guys, people, whatever. You're funny. You have a funny way to do it.
I got Fuggles. Like, I'm gonna give my wife some Fuggles tonight.
Oh, he's got some shots in her now.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about anything now.
So this good for her.
Is it though? We hope so.
She said yes. Okay, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, she said yes. Yeah, I put her first.
Bless
so
her
I
heart.
put her first.
Oh, that's a nice guy.
Oh, now he's gonna get all like Pisces on it. Okay.
I'm not Pisces.
I am.
I'm an Aries,
and I'm rubbing off on you. You're
Aries.
becoming more romantic.
Yeah. What are you?
So congratulations.
Capricorn.
Okay.
Can't you tell? No, I don't know.
I don't know
I'll
either.
just rip people's throats out or something. I don't know.
You just rip people's throats out like
hell yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's Capricorn.
I don't fuck with you.
I think so. Yeah, it works.
Okay, so you have different expressions of this.
Yes. So this is distilled beer. Except, the TTB won't let me call it beer. We can't even say beer anywhere on the freaking bottle. But there's this whole story about, how the inspired by our treasured connection between Boston Harbor Distillery and the Boston Beer Company. Cheers to merrymaking. A true Bostonian handshake. I wrote that about 10 years ago. I've grown up since, but I like it.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. So when you bring this beer from their brewery to your distillery, do they require a bond-to-bond transfer? Or because you're distilling it, can you just bring that raw beer in and go ahead and run it through your still?
So I have to have a wholesaler permit, which is a weird name because distributor, but it's $10,000 just to bring it over. And it's still in bond. Yeah, nobody pays taxes because it's not taxes,
but they do require a transfer.
A TIB, transfer in bond.
Or transfer in bond, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
we have that. Yep.
Okay. So what I've seen as being very interesting is we can make as much, quote unquote beer as we want to in the distillery and not have to claim
distiller's beer.
Yeah, distiller's beer.
No hops.
And not claim anything, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
And then if it's going through the still, we can make 10,000 gallons of beer, run it through the still, and only claim 100 gallons of a spirit or 1,000 gallons of a spirit.
Absolutely.
And it's just what you claim there. Now, same thing goes for making brandy. So if we make brandy make a wine at the winery.
Are you making brandy?
We're doing a little brandy.
I love that.
So if we make wine at the winery and then we want to ship it out to distill it at our distillery, then we have to do a bond-to-bond transfer or transfer and bond. Yeah.
Okay.
And if we make... otherwise we could say, let's make 100,000 gallons of wine at the distillery, zero paperwork, right? It's just we can make all of that wine and not have to claim it or state that we've produced that.
We have to do something different because the system that we're stuck with.
Yeah.
We just have to have some ingenuity and figure it out.
Well, and you need somebody to push it through. That's the problem. It's like you're busy, I'm busy, everybody I know is busy. And to be able to get somebody together where it's like, how do you spearhead this and get the logical ideas out there and show them that they're logical and the reason for them being as they are.
Well, that's what the associations are for. I know, but we have to educate the associations because they're not actually doing. Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Okay,
this is crazy. So this is an 84 proof beer. So, and what I love about this is that it amplifies the ingredients that the beer started with, which is clove, nutmeg, cinnamon, and ginger.
You really taste it.
It's very expensive, which is why it's in, because we're schlepping, we're delivering tanker loads of beer that's already finished.
It's earthy. It really is like it. I used to, when I was like a teenager, I actually enjoyed smoking cloves.
I know.
You remember those?
Yeah, I remember those.
I always like it started with like
I hated the smell of that stuff. Hated the smell of that shit.
You hated the smell of it?
Oh, it was all these English guys.
They were
Oh,
what was it
yeah.
called though? There was a clothes, but there was also the beaties. The beaties. It was like the actual like leaf.
In the Renaissance fairs, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
Right,
like
that's cloves in it.
manzanita?
Didn't they have cloves in them? I just remember that's what they called them. Dude, when I was younger, that you weren't like asking questions. You were just like, "Oh, I'll smoke it."
You're like, oh, I get to smoke something? Cool. I'll do it.
Well, that's laced with heroin.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Now I'm at like Whole Foods. Like, is that organic? Is that?
I'll see you in 2 days.
I come from a history of really caring what goes in my body.
We do too, obviously.
But it, like used to burn, right? Like those clothes.
Oh, yeah.
They would burn.
Yeah,
Real
I'm
good.
not a huge this is nice, and I love this as like an after dinner drink. I put a little ice cube in it, and I sip on it because it has cinnamon and clove and nutmeg, ginger.
So explain to me how this is a beer.
Well, it's finished beer,
Yep.
the freshest beer you can get, right before it goes into a bottle or a keg. We basically hijack a tote or a tanker, and we bring it right to the still. We don't mash in. We don't ferment. It goes right to the still. We still it twice. We make our cuts. Heart's narrow.
Yeah.
And it goes into a used barrel. And that's it.
Okay.
And that's it. So we distill it like whiskey. So whiskey has to come off the still at 160 proof. But by law, it has to go into the barrel at 125 proof or below. This is crazy. And so single malt does not need to be in new barrels, but rye and bourbon does. We use new barrels anyway because, we just went through your barrel room, which is amazing.
It's too many barrels.
Can I have some?
If they weren't full,
Well, I want the empty ones. I want some. I want to do like a wine barrel finish something with you.
I've got some. We were playing with the idea of finishing with some white port barrels. So if you want to try
white
those,
port?
like
Really?
white port. So we use Albarino to make some white port, and we have some stuff going back to like it's in barrel. I tasted it the other day. It was like 2016 vintage, and somebody asked about they wanted a sweet wine.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, man, we don't make any sweet wines. Well, I know who it was, but yeah. So we don't make any sweet wines. But I was like, we got some port, I think, over in the corner, and I went over and grabbed it, and it's like 2016 white port. I mean, it's like it's got this golden color similar to a brown spirit, like a nice brown spirit, but that could be something worth finishing in.
It sounds
because then you get the
amazing.
sweetness, like that little like.
What would you finish in there? Would you finish rye whiskey or single
I
malt?
actually think
or-
I'd fuck around and find out if this would work out. What is the price for this is a 375?
Yeah, it's a pint or whatever. Yeah, 375. That's $40, and I really need to raise the price, but it's $40 for that little bottle.
That's very good.
But it's so good, isn't it?
That's one of the most unique.
And I have a trademark on the evolution of beer. Like this is the evolution of beer.
it's unique flavored spirits or brown spirits I've had. It's just like, it's real, but it's got so much going on.
Yeah. And so does the Demon Seed. Like, I'm all about the flavor.
Yeah.
And the single malt does too. Like, all about the flavor, all about the ingredients. This is, 84 was the year we started Sam Adams, and it's just beautiful.
Well, nice work.
Yeah, thanks.
And so what are you looking forward to doing, like innovation wise? Is there anything you are at liberty to talk about of what you want to do next, or are you just hunkering down right now and focusing on what you're doing? Because you seem like you have a great mind for trying.
Yeah, innovation is my thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
my thing. We do. It's a business, unfortunately. It would be so much more fun if it wasn't.
Just a hobby.
Like an artist, right? But the gin, we haven't tried the gin, but we are doing. That gin is amazing, and we have a strawberry gin right now with whole strawberries, whole oranges, lemon and tangerine peel, angelica and orris roots, which are ginger roots, and juniper, of course. That is we're giving some proceeds for women's cancer charities, and the strawberry came out pink, and we're actually going to be.
Wait, can you tell me how you're doing the strawberry? Because I've
whole strawberries. We tried fresh strawberries, and then we did frozen.
Vapor?
No, we're macerating.
You're putting in the pot still?
No, we're not even. It's macerating afterwards. The oranges are in the pot
afterwards. Okay.
So almost like a basket, So
Yeah.
all the botanicals are in the baskets. The vapors, come through.
Yeah.
Carry up.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because you're with citrus, you're going to get a lot of that.
That's what we're doing with
like
the beer. Like we're carrying up all the flavors, the ingredients that they started with.
Yeah.
And that's what distillation is. It's amazing.
So I can you describe, because I think you're alluding to what I think is something that would be very interesting for people to understand that don't quite understand how you can impart characters into spirits. So you can have it in the mash, right? Or you can toss it in the pot, or you can toss it in a basket, or you can
macerate it
after. So and so you'd mentioned that you're doing your citrus in the basket.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because that pithiness from what I understand, right? I'm not a distiller myself, but that pithiness can really become very bitter and kind of offensive on the palate if you macerate it afterwards. Mm-hmm. And whereas strawberries, like you're saying, you're macerating afterwards, and so you're getting a bit of color, but you're also getting all of this.
We're just sucking it all out.
Yeah.
Like, the alcohol is doing it. So you end up with albino strawberries that have no color and no flavor because we've taken it all.
And you're running it is that like 160, 170 proof, 190?
Well, gin?
Yeah.
189.
Oh, man. Okay. So 100.
But we're bottling it at 90, which is high. But, fuck.
Well, it's just a few points higher than normal. You're like at 45%?
Yeah.
But
because
if you're
when you're doing real botanicals, if you don't have that high alcohol, you'll get that urine tinge.
Yeah.
Who wants that?
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. No. So, yeah. So strawberry could probably go to 80 proof. I might drink better at 80, but we have it at 90 right now. First time
I like
we
a little
ever
more
did it.
kick personally, even and I think that they do carry the flavor. Like anytime I've tasted variants of alcohol with the same base gin, which I've been fortunate to be able to do, I always like the higher alcohol.
Yeah, it grounds a cocktail. Like there's body and there's complexity.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I fell in love with. It's, why are you so into whiskey? And it's all of those, and gin and distilled spirits are really amazing.
So alcohol being a solvent, more or less, especially at 189 proof, right? That's like you could torture somebody in that.
Well, and that's why I think there should be nutritional information on labels, and I think that everybody should understand what they're putting in their body.
Yeah,
I do, because food can kill you too, but alcohol does kill people, and they're it's good stuff in and good stuff out, and I think. I saw that today in your winery and what you do there and the attention to detail and the quality that goes into it all. And that's what real makers do. And it's a different world that we live in today, and the big are getting bigger on stuff that is hurting people, and that's not fair to anybody. So I want to be different than that. I want my brands to resonate with people and understand that if they enjoy it, they should enjoy it because it won't hurt them.
Yeah, it's good to know, and hopefully people understand that.
Yeah, and
I'm so glad you got to see the winery during harvest, and the tank that you did the bazooka or fire hose on.
Oh, that was so much fun.
So what was also important was that. So I think the audience doesn't know that. We also had a group of Brazilians that were our importers, our Brazilian importers there, and so we did this whole tour together. And we always get criticized for the darkness and richness of our wines and whatever else and all that. So
that's a plus.
When we walked over to that tank and he was already running the irrigator or just running the pump.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, let's break this down, and they're gonna do a bazooka. It's like, all right. And as soon as you started hitting the top of that cap, you just see this bright, extremely dark, dense purple.
Gorgeous.
And I'm just like, oh, that is beautiful. That is
gorgeous.
I wish every sommelier could see that and understand. It's come out and see. We're not making pale wines.
Well, they can see it because you have 450,000 followers on your TikTok, Mr. Joe Wagner.
I used to make wine, but now I'm just an influencer.
Yeah, well, you're doing both, and that's remarkable. What you're doing in educating people on wine and making it fun and making it approachable, but still making a really great quality product. You should be proud of that.
Well, thank you. We're trying. We're still. I feel like we can always do better. That's at the end of the day. So.
That's what makers do.
And
that is true.
And
you
accept all. He accepts all the lovers in that followership and the haters.
And why are they hating? Have they done it before?
That's what we always like to say. I like that. I've always give him credit that he offers people to come out.
But I guess the way
see how it's made.
The simple philosophy is how you should live your life, right? You have people that you love and you get along with, and you got each other, right? And you're not going to do anything that's going to screw up that relationship, however far that relationship is. That could be you and me, we've known each other forever, or it could be me and somebody who's just commenting on a post, right? But the haters are where the opportunity is, right? The haters are the ones.
I guess it's a buying sign. At least they have a point of view, and so they're interested.
Yeah, they got a point of view, and it's our job to try to straighten that out and give them a reason to understand and believe and open their mind a little bit, because hating is really just being closed-minded. So
absolutely,
how do you break that down? And there's criticism everywhere. It's if you really have time to do that, let me try to educate you on. And going back to your point, education is key.
It is
in all ways. And I wish that we had. You and I both, the ability to broadcast this net of detail of each of our products. And
isn't that what we're doing right now?
That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Thank you for providing the opportunity.
Are we going to hit 1,000 people or are we going to hit 1 million people? I don't know.
Someday, you never know where this shit goes. But
yeah.
But we keep doing it and being evangelists for it and doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that sounds naive in some ways, but... And it is, because you do need to make money to have a business and support people. At the same time, if it's not good going in the bottle, then there's no reason to do it.
I agree with that.
There's too many people that have been doing it a lot longer than us that can do it for $2, whatever.
You got to be able to differentiate, and by evolving and creating something that just has, it's amazing if you think about it on a 100-point scale, right? So you think... if a critic gives one wine a 2-point differential 1 year over another, I hate this shit too, right? but does that really mean something? And I don't think it does. Whether you're at a 91 or a 93, I don't think nobody's really going to care.
Snore.
But go to the consumer level, and what is 2 points in their mind, and that 2 points for their personal preference and understanding of what the preference is. So now you're not taking a differential between your own product 1 year to another, but you're taking maybe, okay, I really like that. That was a 90, but this is a 92. I'm definitely going to go with this because this is a 92 in my mind. Mm-hmm. So it's a big difference for the consumer. I don't think they're generally saying it's 2 points, it's 4 points, it's 8 points better. It's more I just like this better. But that little bit, as little as 2 points, that we can do as independence and being able to have a little more fun in what we do and be able to experiment and expand rather than just being on this streamlined process and throwing in efficiencies that are going to harm the quality at some point, which happens in almost every large organization. We have that upper hand.
That's absolutely right, because we're in control of what goes into it. We're not public, and we can do what we need to do for what's inside the bottle. But the competitions have gotten way out of hand. And, we won the Great American Beer Festival every year for year over year over year because it was better beer. And it's just gotten out of hand. There's so many middlemen. Like it's a competition strategy that you need to have. You need to deploy lots of dollars to enter these things and send, bottles, 4 bottles. They need 4 bottles of a 750 ml. And who are these judges? Yeah. I'm so sorry to discredit these people, but you smell something and you go, oh, that smells good. And you taste it and you go, that tastes good. That is the best award you can ever win. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because in your heart, as a winemaker, and that you are, and a distiller, you're only going to put good stuff in.
And the customer, at the end of the day, the consumer at large is going to be the one that decides.
Absolutely.
And you got to listen. If they don't like it, you're going to be like, man,
we have to go through the gatekeepers, though, the 3-tier system and that whole thing. It's a broken model. People say
and
to
the
me,
buyers and all this shit.
Oh my
I agree.
gosh,
yeah.
Right. So here we are. We can have another whole podcast on this, but the point is, we're here together. This is exciting for me. Like, I am in California with Joe Wagner and Chris Rubio. There we are, making stuff.
Wait, you already got this turned around? Where'd you guys get this?
I do with the bazooka. Do you want to talk through this, Joe?
Yeah, so if you could see this. So this is a high volume, high pressure pass over the cap to really mix up the cap, all the solids that float, or I should say, are brought up to the top by the CO2 during fermentation. And so this allows us to get full extraction of everything the skins have. So that's Rhonda doing her first bazooka and doing a great job of it. Yeah. Look at all that beautiful, dark, foamy, fermenting wine.
Oh, thank you.
Did you ever, the thought ever cross your mind? You're like, what happens if I just lifted this up?
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to be the devil
Joe.
for
Straight across. Oh, Bazooka
I'm like,
Joe. That's
right in his face.
Funny.
Because I think about that
That's
sometimes.
funny.
But I didn't. I'm respectful that way.
You blow your eye out, man. It's just like...
I also want to note too, like, if you don't mind, that you're such a trailblazer of the beer and spirit industry. You're a known leader, but pioneering woman, and we can note that too. That was when you started in your venture and where your origin story started, it was dominated kind of by men. I was just wondering if you want to touch on how the landscape has evolved. And what still could be evolved from that? Or do you have anything to add?
Oh, I think it's evolved, quite a bit. There's a lot of women in the industry now, and I am, thrilled to see them there because we're big consumers too, right? There's not that many women starting things on their own. There's a lot of, husband and wife things, which I respect and all that. So I'd like to see the entrepreneurial environment really grow from women, though women are awesome, right? Yeah. I mean, men are awesome too. Like, I really do like men. But I like women that are able to have a family and have a career and be in this industry that believe in it. Like, we were shut out for so many years. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even get a job because I was a woman. Like, that is still in my lifetime, which I'm not that old, people. And that was truth. Yeah. I couldn't get a job because I was a woman. Like, what? We give life to people. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? I'm a minority? But we are, for some reason. And we share that minority status with a whole lot of other cultures and nationalities and sex, and we had Black Lives Matter and the LB, the lesbian and the gay, please
LGBTQ.
Yeah, thank you. I could never get the acronym to that,
Yeah.
but it's Pan-Asian. It's everywhere,
Yeah.
and we just keep sharing the same pie. We're not growing.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this before, but the Roe v. Wade thing was very hurtful.
Yeah.
It got overturned after 50 fucking years. Give me a break.
Yeah.
We're women. This is our bodies. This is ourselves.
Yeah.
This is America, man, and it's not good, and it's getting worse, and that is really sad. So what do we do about it? We keep doing our thing. We keep educating people. And we keep true to ourselves and our abilities, keep our head and our integrity, and we move forward. And we soldier on, and we just win. And we keep kicking down doors to benefit the greater good. Because what else are we going to do?
When you were talking about, your origin story before, you said something to the respect of, I just was going to stand out by being the hardest worker. But just to hear from you being an inspiration that you are,
thank you,
and kind of just giving people the hope of like, what do we do? You keep going.
You keep going, and you soldier on. Working hard is a badge of honor, and that's it. And I love it. Like, you have to find your passion. Mine happens to be in alcohol. Lucky me.
I mean, it's had a really good run, and it's going to come back. That's the thing. I mean, I know that like if you've just read the news, it's like there's the abstainment movement. There's the weed piece. There's the Ozempic piece. There's the social media piece. The embarrassment piece. Like all this stuff. Like right, there's nothing but kind of like, what are all the reasons? I mean, at some point, people are going to realize like there is so much history with each one of these, whether it's beer, which really started was the creator of alcohol and humans, the relationship between alcohol and humans.
Of course.
And then you've got wine, distilled spirits, and the history that's carried through those, and the culture that is carried along with it. I just see it as like there's a moment right now where there's a lot of confusion. I think we are still coming out of the pandemic confusion, and people being very health conscious and not understanding kind of what even moderation is. Like that, it's there's, I mean, they're just saying like straight up, don't have any alcohol.
Yeah,
like that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
we had that experiment once before in the 20s.
Did it?
And it really worked.
We've done this. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I've watched Boardwalk Empire. I know how this plays out.
But and back to your question, because women have played a huge role in all of it, because we were the brewers and we were the winemakers and we were the distillers and we were the people that were adding sustenance for our family. And then we would sell our sustenance so we can get bread from other people in different barters. Mm-hmm. And, frankly, men saw that as an opportunity and they took over our businesses and we became minorities.
I guess what I'm seeing is like what you're saying is how things have evolved from being more home crafted, maybe I'll say, right? You're as a woman, you're baking the bread. You're, whatever. Let's use that as an example. Sure. And then all of a sudden,
or making the beer, the wine, and the spirits.
Well, then the industrialization comes in and takes it over and augments it to a point where, like, well, it's cheaper for me to go down to a store and buy bread that was made at that giant factory, and so there's no longer a need for women to be making bread, and men have taken over that industry.
Well,
but now what we're seeing is people going back to these kind of age-old, like it's almost like at a point of desperation where we're like, no, we need to know what we're putting in our bodies,
yes,
and we need to be more aware of the ingredients. And I'm not going to just go down there and buy whatever branded product there is because I can make this at home. And we used to do it for thousands of years,
right?
And so, do you see what I'm getting at is? And this, my hope, is that do you see that people are going back to that, being very conscious about as you were mentioning, what they're putting in their bodies, what goes into the products, and trying to understand the ingredients. I mean, somebody's not just going to come and say, you know what, I like whiskey, so I'm going to start making a whiskey in my garage. Some people are doing it, but
it's illegal.
But some people
don't do it because you'll probably blow up.
But some people are doing it, and you can get very hurt, and you can get very poisoned.
Yes.
But nonetheless, do you think that there is a move back to that?
I think the makers movement is real. I do, and I think people care. You know, they have time, right? They have some money, they have some time, and that's a hobby. It's a hobby for people, and I think those hobbyists are good for us. People, I mean, I'm in California right now, but I live in Boston, and we don't have that same, care about what goes into our food, and
you don't?
guys have. Well, not really, because it's really expensive by the time it gets out there.
Okay.
I mean, it's really weird.
But do you still have is it a lot of canned goods and frozen goods, as far as vegetables and fruits?
Not
winter?
for me, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, by the time, think about it. You guys pick it here, and it's going to come there.
Yeah.
And, So it's not the freshest stuff that comes, and from all over the world. It just isn't. Here you guys have a better local environment to make things work.
I mean, for agriculture year round, I get it, but we're also missing some things that made America what it was, and it's like grit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're missing grit? Tell me more about
No,
that.
I just think a lot of California, the West Coast in general, there's little hardship when it comes to your environment, and so I think that creates people that are unwilling to push. You have a laissez-faire attitude. I mean, I'm not going to get specific, but you saw the 49ers play on Sunday?
No. Last time I was here was with my daughter. She came with me 5 years ago to Napa. She loves wine. And I was sitting at the Archer Hotel on the roof deck, which was only 2 stories high, but okay.
That's a skyscraper for Napa. Come on.
I know. And she called me, and I know she's in Bordeaux with her.
So she really likes wine.
She loves wine. And she called me yesterday to tell me that she got engaged. She's 28. Woo!
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Kelly.
Yeah. And sorry, she's your 28-year-old?
Yeah, she's my oldest.
That is awesome.
And, yep. And so, yes, I mean, they have a work ethic because they have 2 entrepreneurial parents that work their asses off. And we were different than everybody else. We didn't show up at every game. We couldn't.
Yeah.
We were working, and they didn't love it then. But the older they get,
I think leading by example is one of those things where it's, I think that when they see it, they don't like it at the moment.
I mean, Joe, it's a sacrifice. We sacrifice every day.
Yeah.
To do what we do because we make things. I don't know why it has to be so hard. It shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, there's a saturation
Makers should
piece of
be we should get to the front of the line.
So I got to ask you about, because yes, it is, and this has nothing to do politically, but it's becoming politicized. What do you think about tariffs on alcohol?
Sacrificial lambs. Crazy stuff. We should be able to have a free demand,
Just free trade.
Free trade.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think so. I mean, look, we have plenty of Japanese whiskey and whiskey from Taiwan and Australia and Scotch. Fucking Scotch.
Now, what if?
How come we can't go there?
Well, so
easily.
why can't we we cannot sell, whiskey to Scotland or wine to France, California wine to France, right? Without massive tariffs. But they're not necessarily reciprocated back to the products from their countries coming here. So if you just left level playing field, is there maybe there's a risk that the United States would dominate internationally?
I don't think so. I mean, you're in the wine business. There's wine from all over the world that is good.
Oh, there is one. Yeah, all over the world.
Right.
But there's protectionism in other countries more so than there is here.
Exactly.
And so if there was free trade across the board, I mean, I would like that.
I'm down for that. Yeah.
I would like that. In the meantime, like, what do we do with if France is saying like, no, we're gonna give you a 50% tariff on any wines going in?
Well, then we should do the same thing here. Probably.
So eye for an eye.
Oh, reciprocity, maybe.
Reciprocity, it's a better word. Leave it to the lady.
I'm from Boston.
There you go.
I say fuck them. Reciprocity.
Me,
but you know what? I say fuck them too.
Tooth for tooth.
No, this whole thing sucks, man. It just all sucks. Like, we should be able to have, things that we want. This is the world without walls. www.
Yeah.
That's what the internet is all about.
That was a great conversation. Thank you, Rhonda, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to coming out and visiting you. I want to see the distillery.
I can't wait.
Thanks for sharing the spirits.
Bring this dude with you with the tracksuit and all.
Yeah, I know. You gotta wear the matching pants too.
Like the tracksuit. I was trying to get feel a little Boston thing, but
look at Matt Stevenson right there.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
Fucking,
Can I be?
Yeah, he was.
That does match.
He's a fashionista.
Yeah.
Right there. I'm a model now. So that's what happened. Okay, I can't.
Yeah.
This is my 2 weeks.
Be the lowest paid model in the world.
I'll take it, dude. I'm not.
All right, Rhonda, thank you. Signing off. See you in Boston.
Ah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you, Rhonda. Peace.